What's going on, everybody? We do have a wonderful show lined up for all you mixed nuts, sports nuts fans. Y'all, it is Friday. We have made it. Congratulations on making it to Friday. My man Shane, what's going on, brother?
Hey, what's going on? Hey, once again, still out in Charleston, right on Grandma's back porch. Shout out to everybody watching. Before we go into anything, I want to give my thoughts and prayers out there to the Mills family and friends for the tragedy that happened outside the PGA Championship today. I hate it for it. It was a very unfortunate event, but our thoughts and prayers go out there to that family and that set of friends.
Amen. That's a big thing there. JD is just delightful. Top of the morning, sir. How are we doing?
Hello, good people. I am JD. I am JD Wyatt at 06 on Twitter. Hey, we're happy to be here at the Sportz Nutz today. JD is just delightful to be here with you. Some days JD might be just dreadful. Some days I might just be just dandy. Or today I'm just going to be just delightful because, man, we have a big time guest coming on with us this evening, man. I can't wait to have this conversation, man. We're going to talk about everything, college sports, NIL, women's sports. I mean, you name it, we're fixing to have that conversation. So, yeah, I'm just delighted to be here with everybody this evening. Shout out to brother-in-law. Shout out to Trey Davis, Brandon, Julian, anybody out there that may be watching. Hey, make sure to give us a like, a share, a follow. And, man, hey, can we introduce this guy yet? Are we ready to go? Y'all ready? I don't know. Y'all aren't ready.
Hey,
y'all ain't ready.
Here we go. All right, so listen up here. I want you guys to know who this man is. All right, this is the man. This is the myth. Y'all, this is the most inspirational person you will ever meet in your lifetime. Reason why I say that, we have a good friend, mutual friend, him and I do. His name is Brian Kajiyama, is my mutual friend with him. I'm going to bring him on, y'all. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls all around, may I introduce you to our man, Coach Jeff Reinbold, everybody. Woo!
Hey, welcome in, man. Hey, listen, we are so thrilled to have you here, man. So awesome.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. I don't know if I can live up to all that now.
It's our job to build you up, and then, hey, whatever happens from there happens. But, hey, we'll build you up the best you can, and then, hey, like most of us, or especially like me, I'm just going to fall flat on my face anyway. So let's get into some sports talk.
So, Jeff, where are you guys at, by the way? Before we get talking, where are you guys at?
I'm Greenville, South Carolina. Shane, where are you at right now, buddy?
I'm in Charleston, South Carolina. I live upstate Cheraw, South Carolina, a little small town, about 5,000 people.
JD.
Yep, and I'm in Simpsonville, just outside of Greenville, like Brandon. Brandon and myself, we're like 30 minutes apart.
Yep.
All right.
I'm on the west side. He's on the east side. So you distinguish which one's which.
My sister-in-law is from Newberry. And
hey, that's me. I'm Lake Greenwood.
Okay.
Lake Greenwood, Cross Hill. I was dude. I grew up in everybody. Hey, anybody listening on Facebook, y'all know this. Y'all are from Clinton too. So I grew up in a very small town and at Lake Greenwood there. And it was so annoying, man. I had to drive 30 minutes to Walmart, 30 minutes to school, 30 minutes to the closest McDonald's or Subway. You couldn't even go get a $5.99 Little Caesars anywhere, man. It was nuts where I lived. I mean, it was all woods and lake. And so, yeah, Newberry. Shout out to Newberry.
Yeah.
My brother's a Citadel graduate, so.
Okay. Nice. I've got two uncles that are Citadel grads.
That's it.
Nice.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we rep the Citadel strong around here for sure.
Yeah. Bulldogs.
Hey, they beat my Gamecocks, man. Just 2015, they beat my Gamecocks, man. All love to the Citadel. All love to the Citadel.
So Jeff, does this look a little familiar to you, sir?
Where did you get a hold of one of those now?
So I don't know if you can see your signature, sir, is right there. Actually,
I can.
I got this autographed by you at the Sugar Bowl, sir. Best autographed piece of memorabilia right here. I want the picture you and Brian got signed because that was like the all-time author of my favorite. But guys, I'm gonna tell you about this gentleman right here. If you have not seen my buddy Brian and Jeff's video, it's called Heart of the Warrior. It is on YouTube. Jeff, why don't you give a little introduction about yourself, like how you and Brian met, and just like let everybody know who you are? Because I mean, you are. I'm telling you, I'm just in the Keeler household. You're a legend, my friend.
Well, that's enough for me. If I'm a legend in your house, but I'm a coach, lifetime coach. I've been really blessed to have been a lot of places with a lot of great people. When I came to work for June Jones at Hawaii in 2005, as I was working as a defensive line coach, and excuse me, I noticed this kid every day sitting in a wheelchair, motorized wheelchair, outside our practice facility, and he would hang outside. And it didn't matter what weather it was. I mean, we practiced at 6:30 in the morning, so I don't know. I had no idea where he was from, who he was, what he was doing, but I'd see him there every day. So finally, I walked over and asked him, what his name was and what he was doing. And Brian Kajiyama was a student at the University of Hawaii at the time and a devoted Rainbow Warrior fan. And through that conversation, that led to other conversations that we had. And I found out that Brian, even though he was born and confined to a wheelchair his whole life, grew up as a small boy, going to the games in his wheelchair with his father and dreaming that one day he would play for the University of Hawaii and run through the tunnel and all of the things that are so amazing about college football, and particularly college football at Hawaii. And I was really touched by his story. And then as I got to know him better and we spent more and more time together, I recognized how brilliant he was, right? In spite of the fact he had to communicate with a device, basically a keyboard in his chair. He only had the use of one arm and partial use of one arm. The guy was a brilliant guy. I mean, he was really, really a smart, clever, funny, amazing person. So then I found out, incredible coincidence, that he lived on the same street that I did, but just further, much further down. So that started a friendship, which turned into Brian saying to me one day, I'd really like to do more to help the team. And so I went to June and I asked him about the graduate assistantship we had open, and June was, I said, I think we ought to give it to Brian. I said, he's got incredible computer skills. He's, he understands the game. So we ended up hiring him as a graduate assistant, and he became the first Division I coach in Division I football, with his condition, and was, like I said, a guy that was on the field with me every day. He worked with me with the defensive line. He broke down film. He did all kinds of work. And if you watch Heart of a Warrior, which the little 30 for 30, I think it was, by ESPN, it gives you a real sense of who Brian is and what he did for us in that magical year of 2007 when we went undefeated and played Georgia in the Sugar Bowl.
Oh my God, yeah, guys, I promise you this. Brian's actually watching, by the way, Jeff. So please, Brian, we love you, buddy. I'm glad you're watching. I don't know, Jeff, have you heard that Brian's actually had some issues with his shoulder? So please give him a shout out, man, because he loves coming on and listening to us.
You know what? I went over and saw him. I don't see Brian nearly as much as I probably should, and as much as I'd like to. He lives in Kailua on the other side of the island, and but I was over there and we spent an afternoon together just talking. It was wonderful. He's been battling, he's had his second rotator cuff injury, so
yep, he's told me that.
He's been fighting with that, and he's a tough sucker now. I'm telling you, I've been around tough people my whole life, and I take a little pride in thinking that I got some physical toughness, but I don't know if I've ever met a person as both mentally and physically tough as Brian Kajiyama is. And, you know, he's got a great sense. That was the first thing I remember about him as we got to be friends. I remember him coming down a hill on campus that had speed bumps on it. And he's in his wheelchair and he pops it, and he's on two wheels. Like he's like sideways on two wheels. And I'm like panicking that he's going to kill himself. And the chair goes boom back down and straightens out again. And he just laughing. And I said, this guy's a man after my own heart.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Guys, Shane, I'm going to tell you this. I want you guys to really share Jeff and Brian's story. And and y'all listening on the show right now and the stream and everything, Jeff has got to be one of the most inspirational people I have ever gotten a chance to learn about. I got to tell you, Jeff, you are my idol, man. As a coach, I coached youth football. I really did, and I played it too. I coached youth football, and a good buddy of mine, his name is Vince. Actually, he follows you on Instagram, on Twitter, and he has said that his style of defense and the way you connect with the players individually, he has enhanced his game that way. And that's kind of what I did when I coached. I coached at Avondale High School in Avondale, Georgia. It was a great experience. Unfortunately, DeKalb County closed the school down because lack of enrollment. And, DeKalb County splits. Georgia, they split a lot of stuff. It's crazy what they do. Well, then I took over as an offensive assistant at North Gwinnett High School. And I learned more of the offensive game under Bob Spire. Do you know who he is?
I've heard the name. I don't know the gentleman.
So Bob Spire, he actually learned his offense in June.
Okay.
And he actually told me this year his school in Highlands set a record for most offensive yards between rushing and passing at 10,000 yards this year. And guys, when I tell you this, Shane and JD, we're not joking. Jeff will tell you this too. The run and shoot offense is one of the most high-powered offenses you'll ever see. Shane, I know you said you had a couple questions you wanted to ask Jeff with regards to college football. JD has some good questions he wants to ask you about college football as well, Jeff. So are you guys ready to get into the show?
Oh, man, let's go.
Yeah,
Right,
hey, let me comment one thing real quick, though. Jeff, he was just mentioning, here we are. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we have Jeff Reinbold, the defensive line coach, host of the Jeff Reinbold Show. I mean, to me, listen, I've gotten a picture with Jimmy Johnson, the 7-time NASCAR champion, before. I've run across a few celebrities in my day. I've waited on Sidney Rice, DJ Moore, some NFL players and things like that. But I will say this probably has to be one of the most just ridiculous things I've ever done in my life. Sitting here talking with this legend here about these things, we might have lost him there. Hopefully we didn't.
He's in Houston, so he is
in
and out. But
I wanted to mention his dedication. I mean, he's sitting there talking in his car with us, and man, to me, I just wanted to thank him for that. I'm sure we'll get him back in here hopefully in a minute.
Sure,
but
yeah.
golly, yeah, we had so many great things to talk about. We were going to get into some portal talk, Brandon. I'll throw it back to you here, but yeah, I just wanted to mention that, man. His dedication, and people in wheelchairs and stuff, man, they're an inspiration to everybody. I mean, there's a lot of people that have a sour outlook on life, and it's just crazy whenever somebody positive comes into your life, and we've all been blessed with all of our positivity. So I just wanted to mention, that credit to all of us as well.
Absolutely, guys. I'm going to tell you this now. Brian's still watching. So Brian, I love you, man. I'm so glad you're watching this, buddy. Brian, he is a different kind of individual, but I guarantee you, he's smarter than all of us combined with the computers. He is fantastic.
No doubt in my mind.
Brian and I talk every chance possible. We talk college football. We talk professional football. We talk University of Hawaii football, guys. I know Jeff he's in Houston right now, so he's going to come back on in just a second. Let's get going though with talking with the show, guys. I know when he comes in, so I will make sure Jeff is in there. But guys, let's talk. Let's get it going.
Let's go.
College football is a super hot mess. You have players making more money today than hundreds of thousands of people will make in their lifetimes combined in just a year, guys. Not even a year, actually. Some people can make it in just one season, which is 10 games or 12 games, which is ridiculous. We recently did see the report come out about Shador Sanders, who has made a staggering $4.6 million in NIL money so far. He has also been labeled as the athlete who has made the most money in NIL. Guys, what are we coming to these days? I mean, do I think players in college should make money for their talents? Oh, absolutely. I've been there. I've played football. I've played sports. I know what to expect with regards to the level of dedication you have to give to your body, to your mind, your spirit, your heart, everything. For those who didn't play football, it's one of the hardest things to play, and it really is a grueling task. And to have Jeff be able to come on and talk about it, that's pretty cool in itself. So I'm going to open it up to my team here first. We were going to open to Jeff, but we're going to wait for him to come back on. So I'm going to open it up actually with JD, and then we're going to go to Shane, and then hopefully by the time we'll have Jeff back on. What do you think we could do to maybe fix college sports? I mean, we have the NIL, we have transfer portal. JD, what can we do to fix college sports? I'm going to go here. I'm taking the hat off now. I'm giving it to you. You are the college sports AD director, everything of how to fix college sports. Go.
All right. Well, first of all, man, the cat is out of the bag at this point, right? I mean, it's hard to put toothpaste back in the container once you squeeze it out. It's basically impossible. There are a lot of things, though, that can be done to fix this situation. I just don't think necessarily that the NCAA, who is the governing body, is going to do what they need to do so. And by that, I mean, you can't have different states operating under different NIL and transfer portal laws. That's all of it. That's already a big issue as it is. I mean, and now all of a sudden, here's a crazy thing. Virginia and NC State, me and Shane talked about it the other day. They're going to play a non-conference game as in-conference opponents. So why? That's all I ask with anything that's going on with college football now. It will not be the game that we thought it was here in a few years. Obviously with NIL and everything, and I've said this before, and we'll talk about some women's sports here shortly. But if I'm a businessman and I'm looking to give an athlete NIL money, guess who I'm giving it to? I'm giving it to a more mature 19 or 20-year-old woman who may or may not transfer, most likely not, because guess what we don't hear about in women's sports too much is all the transfer portal stuff and the pay for play. They just go and they get their little bit of NIL money. So if I'm a businessman, though, and we just had this Juice Wells situation here at South Carolina last year where we paid my man $1 million for one touchdown. Count them.
No, it's the haircut. Come on, I'll be honest.
And so, yeah, it to me is a more business. I'd rather put $250,000 investments on women because women's sports is on an uptick. Guess what? That opener with Caitlin Clark the other day, she set a bad record. She had 10 turnovers, but it had 2.12 million viewers, the most in WNBA in like 23 years. So, yeah, listen, and don't ask me for my Starbucks money. I don't have Starbucks money, bro. I make my coffee at home because it's cheaper, and I ain't paying $5 for no coffee. So don't tell me to say, oh, well, you could just go without Starbucks for a few days and donate that to an NIL collective. No, miss me with that bull crap. I'm out. I'm not. No.
So, guys, Jeff is back. Jeff, I'm going to actually, we're going to bring you this because I want your thoughts on this too. We have seen college football is a super hot mess. You have players who are making more money in 12 games than hundreds of thousands of people make in their lifetimes combined. Shador Sanders, $4.6 million so far in NIL money. I'm going to give you the hat. I'm going to say you're the athletic director of every major portion of college sports. How can we fix college sports in your eyes?
Well, I think that's a really, really complex question, because obviously everybody, including, the presidents, the coaches, everybody that's involved, with maybe the possible exception of the players who are benefiting from the NIL thing. And I do believe that the players should benefit from the profits that the game makes. However, it's been a really, really, as you mentioned, a hot mess, that to use your description. And I think that's a pretty fair description. When you see a guy like Nick Saban, basically leave the game before I think he was really ready to leave the game, because of the issues that the NIL has caused. And, how you're going to get that genie back in the lamp, I do not know. The reality of college sport is the same as pro sport. It's entertainment, and entertainment is based about the dollar. And when you see things, not only, and I'll take it a step further, when I see things like the disintegration of, the Pac-12, which had years and years and years of history, and, battles between Oregon and Oregon State, and, Washington and Washington State, and all of the great wars that we witnessed between UCLA and USC, Cal and Stanford, rather. And all of a sudden, that's all gone now. I mean, because they can make more money competing in the Big Ten because of the Big Ten television contract. And so Oregon State and Washington State, two lifetime members of the what began as the Pac-8, they're left on the street with no home. And, I just, somehow that's wrong. I can't get my head around Rutgers against USC at the Coliseum in a conference game. I mean,
that's weird. That is really weird to think that too,
Right. And let me mention this one too. So you just mentioned those two teams getting left out there of their own conference. And, we've seen all the realignment coming already. We're probably going to see some more. So how do you feel, though, about Vanderbilt, Duke, Boston College, some of those lower level schools, and some of these Iowa State? I mean, we can mention others. I can't. Rutgers even. Can you speak to some of those schools? If everything does come to where it's 64 teams or something, can you speak to what you think about some of those schools being potentially left out?
Well, I think the reality of it is that we're headed in that direction. It's hard to say it because I coach at what's, if you want to use the lingo that's out there, or the language that, that's put out there, we are at a group of 5 school. We're not a Power 4 school. And so, I'm sure that Vanderbilt and Duke and, Northwestern and some of these places, that where it's tougher, for a lot of reasons, they're hanging on to that Power 4, title because it's financially in their best interest to do it. You got to understand that football and the contracts that drive football, television contracts I'm talking about, those are the things that, create opportunity. You see the facilities that are around the country. And I think this is another spin-off of the NIL that I don't think anybody ever thought about when they allowed it to happen. I saw where Ole Miss is a school that has deep pockets. Ole Miss, because of the NIL situation, has curtailed some ideas of expansion and upgrading their facilities because they're concerned about money, right? And how, at some point you've got to get the genie back in the bottle. I don't know how, to be honest with you, I don't know how we're going to do it, because America has an insatiable desire for sport, and particularly football. And as long as America has the desire, the networks will, pay what they'll pay. And, I don't know where it's going to go. Could I imagine there be, a top 30 teams in America and everybody else behind that, and it's like some super conference? That's been talked about for a long, long, long time. And I think what we've seen is that the NCAA, which was, is supposed to be the watchdog of college sports, they're fighting for their own life right now, because I mean, how can you this is the absurdity of this one. All right, so I can't buy a high school kid with no food. I can't buy him a hamburger on a recruiting visit, right, when I go see him. But if he comes to my school, I can pay him $100,000 a year. I don't get that, right? I mean, like, that makes no sense to me.
Totally agreed.
So, there's so much hypocrisy in the whole thing. And, I think it's a question if the presidents, I think the only way it could get fixed is the presidents are going to have to hard line, and they're going to have to say, hey, we're not going down this road anymore. Now, here's what's happened is, however, what's the immediate reaction of the interest groups? They're going to litigate, and you better be ready as a university, and the NCAA has already capitulated numerous times to litigation. People, if you come back and say, okay, we're going to cap coaches' salaries and we're going to cap all of the expenditures that are out there, how are you to say how much money a person can make if on the open market? Right now, we got all kinds of legal issues, and so it's a really complex question.
So, and y'all, I don't know if you know this. Jeff can tell you this. The state of Hawaii and the University of Hawaii are having a really big battle as to what's going to happen with a stadium. It was condemned. Aloha Stadium was condemned. They're tearing it down. They're playing at TC Ching Center, which is, I think, only a 15 or 17,000 seat stadium at this time. There's talks that they're gonna have new Aloha Stadium built in Aloha Stadium's area. However, then the issue happened with the Maui wildfires. People have said they need to scrap the stadium money and send all it over to Maui, which, I'm not going to discredit Maui and Lahaina does need to have be rebuilt because it is a fantastic city, fantastic town, everything. I love the people of Lahaina. That's one of my favorite places to visit when I go. But in the same sense, the state of Hawaii has one centralized sport. They don't have they have had in the past. They've had professional teams, but they don't have it now. And with Aloha Stadium going downhill as the way it did, the NFL backed out of having the Pro Bowl held there. So then you got to try and figure out how we can pull more money. Well, it has been a back and forth battle. Rob DeMello has said it so many times on KHON2 that what needs to happen to get this stadium built. They're spending all this money to talk and to theorize and what they want to do and go down to these finalists. But then what are they going to do? And Jeff, I want to ask you this too. Have you heard anything new about if UH is going to get new Aloha Stadium, or are they going to stay at TC Ching?
I think that's still being decided. I think it's been a tumultuous time with COVID, and then after COVID, like you mentioned, Hawaii always moves, and I think, Brandon, I think you understand this probably better than anybody that's not in Hawaii. Hawaii always moves at a little slower pace in everything that's done, and particularly when it comes to development and all the political things that have to.
Well, we lost him. He'll come back in just a minute, but he'll come back in just a minute. So
he was just speaking to how everything kind of happens slower there because they kind of are out there all by themselves, right? I mean,
so it's actually called Island Time there. So which means you will get there when you get there, kind of thing.
Right.
You know, JD and Shane, Shane kind of lives a little bit that style too because of where he's at. Is you'll get there when you get there, kind of thing. But here it is hustle bustle now, 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 now. I lived in Atlanta, and you know what Atlanta is. Atlanta is a disaster with regards to getting things done. But let's go to you, Shane. And when we get Jeff back, we'll have him continue. But Shane, let's go to you. I'm gonna give you the hat, and you are gonna tell me how can we fix college sports.
There's no true fix for college sports right now, and I can tell you that there's too many things going on. NIL is the biggest thing I want to touch on because I think that is one of the biggest things that's an issue with college sports as a whole. Not just from the once you get the college standpoint, but we look at this Archie Manning situation. How much money was he really offered to go to these schools? I mean, you're not eligible to get NIL money until, a certain point, but hey, it is what it is. And, like we were talking about collectives, I know Clemson has a collective where if players are getting so much money, can they contribute to the teammates that help get them there? That's one thing that I think needs to be kind of situated out throughout college football and the whole landscape of college sports as a whole, because like you said, Shedeur Sanders, $4.6 million in NIL deals. If he is getting that much in NIL deals, why can we not share this across the board? And I understand it's his name, image, and likeness. It's his, but the school is ultimately paying for his scholarship, to be enrolled there, and to be eligible to play. But then as one thing Jeff touched on with Saban being, he stepped away from the sport a lot sooner than a lot of people should, and I think he does still have the want to come back into the sport. Why not do like a third party kind of college football committee kind of deal with the NIL for the go between to protect the players and the NCAA at that point to make to make a collective where it is as a whole everybody can benefit from it.
Okay, and I agree with you 100%. Jeff was actually tagging on this pretty good with regards to NIL, and I'm eager to ask him when he comes back. I know, like I said, be patient, y'all. He is broadcasting with his phone. He is in Houston. There is a lot of weather he's at. Y'all, I don't know if Hawaii does have an NIL collective. If they do, I'm eager to hear what Jeff says. Now, I know he has to be limited on what some things he says because he is an active coach for the University of Hawaii. Guys, this is going to be a forever debatable topic. How can we fix college sports? I'm going to tell you now this, and I'm going to tell you this flat out, y'all. I did, I played, and JD knows I played. Shane, I played. Guys people who are watching, they know I played. I played both basketball and I played football. I had great potential in careers, and then I unfortunately blew my ACL and MCL playing. So obviously it's hard, to have that kind of thing. But,
right, and I did want to chime in on one more thing. I wanted to clear one thing up. I have no issue with any of the athletes or anything like that making money. Like as a college athlete, granted, it's not hard. I was a college student. Shane, we were all college students. We all struggled. We all ate ramen noodles or did whatever we needed to do to get by. All right.
Amen for that.
And so I have no issue with the athletes making money when you've got conferences or schools pocketing 50 and 60 million from them just from being on TV. So I've got no issue with the athletes making money and stuff, but I do have an issue with the equity of it. Whereas on football team, it's all full scholarships. On a baseball team, even at a national caliber level, guess what? They have to split, and somebody please correct me on this number if I'm wrong, but they have to split 11 scholarships between 25 players. And if that's not the accurate math, it's something like that. no baseball player in college baseball gets a full scholarship. And so now you've got these football players, though, getting full scholarships plus $1 million. And then my man that's playing third base for the baseball team, hitting 30 home runs a year, can't even get a full scholarship or an NIL deal. So that is where my issue lies with all of this. Like, it's got to be some kind of salary cap system. Make them employees. I don't know, NCAA, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, I don't care. Somebody step in and just, can we please just figure out something to make all of this stuff right? Period.
Well, see,
Exactly.
that's where the collective would help, because then you could go and say the collective, like as a school whole, at that point could say, well, we brought in this much money and these athletes brought in this much money in NIL. Then you go to a revenue percentage kind of spread, because right. I mean, that's the only fair way to do it. But then at that point, then if you bring all the money into the collective between all the sports in general, because I mean, JD, you know this just as well as I do, the women's basketball team for South Carolina brings in just as much money, if not more, than the Gamecocks playing football. I mean, it is what it is. They're great. Don Staley's got them there, and they have the notoriety and they have the money backing them for this. But in that collective, you give out revenue shares and stuff like that. That's where that would help. That quarterback, say Shadir Sanders, is sitting there making 4.6, and then the center fielder that's a backup, he can at least make money to afford gas and some food on the weekend.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean,
I agree with that 100%. That that people, you know, we see the big numbers. We see the Shedeur Sanderses. We see players who are making, you know, oodles and oodles and oodles of dollars, and then you have the small players who aren't making anything, or if they are, it's the bare minimum. You know, Furman University, they don't have. I mean, they have an NIL, you know, collective. However, it's not what you think it is. It's, I believe, from what I remember reading last year, only a few players made upwards of like $10,000 for the year. Now, put that in perspective for anybody else that, you know, anybody that's watching us here. We don't make 10,000. We make more than that. So, you know, we survive on salaries that way. But JD pointed this out too recently, and it's a very staggering stat that you look with regards to cost of colleges now. Obviously, we know who the number one is. It's Vanderbilt at it was $99,000 a year. It just went up. But then here comes the crazy one. I believe JD can confirm this too. It's number 2 is the University of South Carolina. That is a head scratcher. And I believe it's like in the 60s or 70s. That's per year for schools. So then we got to go back into, let's put the $10,000 into this, right? So say you're making $10,000 for your NIL. That's all you're really going to make. What are you paying for? You still got that other $64,000 you're going to pay for that year. So, you know, then you got to look at Shedeur Sanders. You know, name, image, and likeness was not, let me go and give Joe Blow his luxury tax of, if you look good in one of my cars, you know, you come get more, I'll give you millions of dollars. It's, you know, you look a certain way in any type of like ad, you play any type of way in it, even in a video game or computer game, and the likeness of the way you look and the way you play comes into the NIL format. It's not just because Shedeur Sanders' dad is Deion Sanders, therefore he needs to make millions of dollars just because it's his daddy. No, you got to take into consideration all of that. And guys, we know this. We all know this, that sports is a multi-billion-dollar industry for everybody, including universities. You and I first know that we're all going to
count the gambling. I mean, if you count the gambling, I mean, sports and gambling literally account for what?
More than that. It's ridiculous the amount of
99%
money.
of the dollar flow around. I mean,
It's
it's
ridiculous
ridiculous.
what is
No,
going on.
Brandon, I just wanted to confirm. So I did go back. I looked up my my post on that real quick. I did want to confirm.
Mhm.
Vanderbilt, this is the cost of attendance of schools in the SEC. This is from SEC Unfiltered on March 11th.
Mhm.
We've got Vanderbilt that cost $89,590. We've got South Carolina coming in at second at $38,696,000 per year to attend. And now I did have some people tell me that these numbers were inflated and this, that, and the third. I'm sure it accounts out of state and in-state tuition, but yeah, as of right now, Vanderbilt's the most expensive, and then South Carolina is the second most expensive. So I mean, it makes sense to
It's
reason that we'll be
astronomical.
the second worst football team in the conference right behind Vanderbilt. Don't tell
So,
anybody I said that.
it's astronomical as the amount of numbers that are being thrown at left and right, up and down, any direction imaginable. You're getting overinflated numbers. This debate goes on daily with a lot of other sports hosts. Is what can we do to fix the problem in college sports? And the truth, and Jeff has even he said the same. He said perfectly with regards to that. He's like, it's a very touchy subject. There's no true way to fix it right now, and we may come to that resolution. We may not. Obviously, it's still for debate. So obviously, we can still talk. We can talk about this more and more. But I want to switch over to our next subject, and Shane's got some good takes on this one, guys.
Yes,
the NFL schedule is out. My man Chase, and by the way, Chase Cravey of Dirty Fanatics United is in the house talking about the Dirty Birds. Y'all, I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan. There are so many great matchups that are going to take place this season, many of which I can guarantee you we all cannot wait to see. So, what stood out the most, though, with these matchups, and it's a crazy one, too, the New York Jets. They have 6 prime time games this season. 6. The sports world, as they call it, are banking on Aaron Rodgers of old doing Aaron Rodgers of old and leading the Jets to a Super Bowl, which that's not going to happen. But besides the 6 primetime games that the Jets have, you're also looking at the Carolina Panthers. They're playing in Germany, y'all. That's pretty impressive in itself too. It's a big matchup. It is the Carolina Panthers. We know they are a dumpster fire situation right now, and hopefully we can see the light at the end of the tunnel for Carolina. I don't think we will. I think it's like a good 3 to 5 years from them. But guys, I'm gonna start with Shane. We are still waiting from Jeff. Jeff is having some trouble. I'm gonna start with Shane. Shane, give me your big matchups that you see coming for the NFL schedule, and then we'll go to JD. And before we do, I want to also give a shout out. My buddy Darren of Dirty South Sports Fanatics is also watching with us. Darren, what's up, brother? So glad you are here, guys. I want you guys to check them out. I know there are some NOLA fans here. If you want to get some good 4-1 on New Orleans stuff with Pelicans, with Saints, with anything related to New Orleans, his team is the one to do. And if you want to get some serious 4-1 with the Atlanta Falcons, Dirty Fanatics United, my buddy Chase, his brother Philip, and my cousin Cody, they host a podcast. Jump on them. They're actually live now. Jump on and watch them, guys. They got some good Falcons intel. All right, Shane, the floor is yours. Give me your I'm gonna narrow it down to only 5. I want your 5 biggest primetime or even 5 biggest matchups that you have coming out, and then why, and then we'll throw it to JD to give us his 5.
All right. Well, before I touch on the 5, I want to touch on the Jets, like you said, 6 primetime games. And then to touch on another point, the Panthers, they're playing in Germany. Other than that, they have 0 primetime games, which is still in Germany is a 0 primetime game, but they are playing in Germany. So that is a hoorah for that. And hey, the NFL must know something I don't, because I think you ought to give everybody at least a good, fair shot of being on underneath the lights in a primetime game. But leading into that, I've got a bunch of big games this season. I'm ready for the NFL season to get underway. It is going to be, I think, one of the best ones yet, and an extremely interesting season. We've got a couple matchups that I want to touch on first. We got week 2, Pittsburgh, Denver. We got Russell Wilson traveling back to Denver. Let's ride that whole debacle. Then we've got the one that y'all are going to look forward to. We've got Kirk Cousins on week 14 going back to Minnesota to play the Falcons and the Vikings. Those QBs facing the old teams at their old stadiums. I want to see the receptions. Those will be interesting games. Then you got the Har Bowl, is what I'm going to call it. You got week 12, Baltimore against the Chargers. So you got Jim and John against each other once again. It's going to be fun. I think that's going to be a great game to watch. Week 1, you got Green Bay, Philly, and Brazil. Brazil hosting the game in Sao Paulo for the first time. It's it's one of those things the NFL is venturing out. It's great to see. I love it, and I love how well the sport has been accepted internationally. Then we get into game of the year possibility. I have a sleeper, and I love it, and it's a game of the year. It's a revenge game, all in one. But week 5, Buffalo and Houston. You have, I think, possibly 2 of the top AFC contenders facing off, and especially Houston grabbing Stephon, and then what Buffalo can do with what they've pieced together. I mean, they have had a quiet offseason, but they have had a strong offseason. And Josh Allen's always ready to play in a big-time game. We'll see what C.J. Stroud does his sophomore year, but I believe this is going to be one of the games of the year. And then one little tidbit in there, a little extra credit. Did the NFL Did the NFL rig the schedule?
I'm sorry, what?
Did the NFL rig the schedule with Buffalo and Kansas City in November when Taylor Swift is in concert in Toronto?
I'll answer that right now. The NFL already came out and said that they fully took into account Taylor Swift's concert schedule when making the NFL conference this year. Has been confirmed. I saw it earlier today.
Thank you.
Obviously,
I can confirm that one right now. Hey, I did see someone earlier. They said Livy Dunn and Paul Skeens are the equivalent of Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift from NFL to MLB. And I was like, I don't know about that one.
On a rookie level, I guess you could
say.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, on a very low rookie level.
So before we go to JD, I do want to let everybody know we are still trying to work with getting Jeff, and Jeff may not be able to come back, unfortunately, just because of broadcasting issues, which is understandable. The time that he has been with us, I am forever grateful. I still talk to Jeff. I'll make sure that he knows that you all love him and that you had a blast getting a chance to talk some football with him and some sports, guys. There's a lot of things that are going on in the state of Hawaii. I encourage you to, watch my team. They are my team. They've been my team for a long time. I encourage you to watch them. They do play later, obviously, because they are all the way in the Pacific. They are currently 6 hours behind on us right now. I want you guys to like them, follow them, everything, because their softball program used to be one of the absolute best. 2010. We actually talked about it recently on one of our episodes. Was 2010's softball season, one of the best, if not the best, in college women's softball. You got the great things going on with women's basketball. They are 3-peat with winning their conference. Then you also got the football program. Timmy Chang has got some good things lined up for UH. So check them out. Now, guys, I'm going to throw this to JD. JD, I want your top matchups. Yeah, man, the floor is yours, buddy.
Shane pointed it out, and that was one thing I was certainly going to mention was the fact that the Panthers had 0 primetime games, and he mentioned the one in Munich, obviously, which makes it that the Panthers have 0 standalone games. And the one that really stands out to me is the Chicago matchup in Week 5 for the Panthers. Man, we might go into that one 0-4. And depending on how Caleb Williams is playing, granted, I'm not high on Caleb Williams. But guess what? I'm not high on the Panthers either. So lo and behold, how many more losses will it take after that before David Tepper throws a temper tantrum, or before he throws a drink on someone, or before he starts into a Dilworth's neighborhood grill about a sign they have about being 0-6? I'm sure Dilworth's will come up with something clever. So, there's a lot of interesting matchups, though, as far as the NFL goes. I mean, opening week, we got Ravens, Chiefs, Panthers, Saints. I mean, I'll venture to say right now, the Panthers, Saints opening week at the Saints will set the season for the Panthers. If they can somehow sneak out a win week 1 at New Orleans, that will set the tone for how the rest of their season goes, I think. But, I mean, I'm obviously chalking it up as a loss right now. But, yeah, man, we've got Packers, Eagles, Vikings, Giants. I mean, listen, my teams are bad. I don't like talking about football in the off season because it gets me depressed. I'd rather focus on more positive things. Okay. Back to you, Brandon.
All right. I was like, okay. So I have some intriguing matchups, that I'm really focused on. Obviously, as you guys see, the real team is right here. Sorry, Darren. I know you're a New Orleans Ain't fan. I'm sorry. But I love you. Much love for you always, brother. Hey, I work in an area that is predominantly Carolina Panthers fans. And so, I do get the backlash of the 28-3 all the time. Tired of hearing it. But I will never not hear it. So, guys, I'm looking forward to every single game this season. That's my primetime matchups, is every game imaginable. But now I will tell you the biggest bonehead matchup that I'm going to say, and I'm pretty sure you guys saw this tweet earlier. You can't spell the NFL without Netflix. And I said, actually, you can. Yes, NFL is mixed into it, but you can spell the NFL without Netflix. That's a head scratcher. Here's another interesting stat. Zach Klein of WSB came out with this and said, and it was shared throughout like all of social media about this with Sports World, is just to watch your whole football season team this year, all through every game, including the specials that go on with holiday time. It's going to cost you $850 for the year just to watch football. Now, I want you guys, and I'm being serious, and fans, I want you to comment on this too. Raise your hand if you can spend $850 just to watch football, knowing that it's just football. Anybody?
Is it can you or do you?
Can you? So, I'm going to say that. I said, all right, no, we can't. We live on the salary we live. And my wife is a teacher, and unfortunately, teachers, they don't get paid anything. You know that, for what the amount of work that she does. Guys, I'm being serious when you can spell NFL without Netflix, because I know they're going to have the most ridiculous matchups. Yes, they're going to be able to. They have made it where they can flex them. They're going to have the most ridiculous matchups come on for Christmas time. Our Jeff is coming back on, guys. It's going to come back on for the most. It's going to be the most weirdest, unusual matchups. And I'm not looking forward to those. Jeff, I'm going to bring you back on. I know you've had some issues with audio and visual.
Hey, glad to have you back. You're good, my man. Welcome back. We appreciate you joining us, period, point blank.
Fellas, I apologize. I'm in Houston, and we have had an unbelievable 24 hours of weather here. And I don't know if it's what it's doing to the internet, but my connection was just awful, and I apologize.
No,
That's
no,
okay,
hey,
Jeff.
no
We
need to
just were
apologize.
talking
First
about
of
the
all,
weather.
we apologize to you because we're amateurs and you're a professional and you're joining us. So hey, we apologize for inconveniencing you, bro. Hey, we welcome you back. You make us look better.
Hey, JD, I got a
So-
question for you. You're a Carolina guy, right?
Yeah.
Gamecock fan?
Yeah.
I want you to put this out amongst all the rest of the Gamecock Nation. I am desperately trying to find footage of the greatest college football defense I ever saw. And it was the University of South Carolina
2010.
when Joe Morrison was there.
Oh,
And they had what they called the fire ant defense. And
Ooh.
Roy Hart played nose on that. I ended up coaching Roy Hart in pro football. And I'll tell you what, that defense flew around like no defense I have ever seen. And I've Googled it, and I've tried every way I can to get footage of those guys because I want to show our players.
and you can't find. Okay, hey, listen,
can't
I've got
find
some
any.
Gamecock guys. Hey, yeah, absolutely. Listen, we've got some Gamecock guys. As a matter of fact, there's a guy down in Charleston who I grew up. He's one of the first ones I listened to on Sports Talk Radio. Bobby Harton. I don't know if you know him. He's a Charleston. Oh God, what's the name of the show? I can't think of it off the top of my head. But yeah, he was a cheerleader though back for the Gamecocks in the
I'll be done.
'60s. And so yeah, I've got some old connects like that, man. Hey, that's the first thing I'm going to tag you in tonight. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell people you need some fire ant defense videos.
Hey, anything they got, I'm taking. And you know what?
Hey,
I
love
gotta
it.
say, let me say this now, because I've seen just about every entrance that there is in college football, right? And when I don't know if they still do this, but in Williams-Brice, when they shut the lights off and they play a theme from
Sandstorm.
2001, and Cocky comes out, and it's that, and they go like that is the most awesome entrance I've ever
Jeff,
seen.
wait.
Hey, no,
You
well,
think
hey,
it's
no,
even
hey,
better than
listen, hold
Billy?
on.
You
First
think
of
it's
all,
better than Billy? Come on now.
Hey, listen. Hey, we appreciate you saying that. Let me thank Jeff before y'all change it up here. Jeff, hey, that's tremendous. They did actually change it up. They did try to drive the Gamecock out on a train or something last year, and a lot of fans were not happy about it. They were not happy about it. But hey, for you to say that, man, that's really cool. Hey, we appreciate the Hawaii Warriors and you even being here with us. So listen, don't give me any credit, man. I'm a nobody. I am a nobody, but hey, absolutely.
No.
Sandstorm is one of the
He is
best.
a guy. JD. So Jeff, I had a widowmaker last July. Thank God I'm still here. And I had quadruple bypass surgery. Unfortunately, my 6-year-old daughter has also found me unresponsive. So we have ways now that she knows how to call 911 and make sure everything's okay. And the first person who reached out to me after I had my bypass was JD. And JD's going to tell you this too. We probably text, 60 times a day, JD?
Oh,
Maybe more.
on a low end, maybe. I mean, there's so many sports stories. I mean, there's so much sports. There's so much stuff to talk about. There's so many things in the world that we need to fix, man. There's not enough time in the day for us all to fix them, right, Jeff? I mean, I'm sure you have that experience every day with your players. Or, there's not enough time in the day to congratulate them for all the good things they do or discipline them for all the bad things they do. Am I right?
It's pretty much that. How about my boy Brandon, though? He throws me a real softball with the first question. He asked me about the NCAA and how to fix it. Like we might get peace in the Middle East before we get the NCAA fixed.
So Jeff,
all right, you mentioned a softball. So Brandon, I'm sorry to interrupt. Brandon, I'm sorry. Since you mentioned a softball, here, hey, can we throw him a hard ball real quick? Can I throw out? Are you ready for it? You ready for the D one I've been talking about? The Dabo?
Fire away.
All right. Hey, Jeff, my man. Listen, hey, I've been waiting to ask this question the whole time. How do you feel about Mr. Dabosaurus Rex over here at Clemson? Man, this man refuses to adapt and get with the times. What do you think? Will he be on the College Game Day set in just a few years with Nick Saban? Or do you think he is going to win doing it his way, the stubborn way? I'm telling you, he is bought in. He's going to do it. He's going to die on that hill. Jeff, do you think Dabo can do it by having only transfer players from high school?
You know, I saw something about that last week, and I was, you know, I thought it was interesting, to say the least. And, you know, it'd be like being in the NFL and saying that you're not going to take advantage of free agency, but you're only going to draft and develop players. Well, I think that makes it really, really difficult to have success. And, you know, one of the things, the biggest reason we're paid in this business is to win football games. And if you're not giving your chance and yourself and your school and your employer and your team the best possible chance, then I think you're doing a disservice to those guys. Now, I understand how he feels and how frustrated not only Coach Sweeney, but I'm talking about coaches all over the country are with this whole process and what it's become. But JD, you make a great point. Like, you have to adapt. Sport is an ever-changing, ever-evolving landscape, and you have to adapt. If you do not, you're left in the dark ages, right? I mean, we've seen it over our time, and I'm certainly a lot older than you, but we've seen it over our time. You know, initially it was, you know, everybody wanted to run the wishbone, and then it was everybody wanted to throw it every down, and then, you know, the evolution of the black athlete. You know, I can still remember when LSU was the last team, all white team in America. And, you know, things change. The life changes, you know, politics change. The game changes. And I think we have to remember that if we don't, you know, I just filled my car up with gasoline, and what I filled it up with was a bunch of residue from some creatures that walked around on 2 feet a long time ago and could never adapt. And so what are they? They're extinct.
So
Right.
that makes a great sense.
That is
there.
one interesting thing you just mentioned, you know, Saban there. And he saw the game passing him by there at Alabama, and he brought in Lane Kiffin to help run that high-powered offense and everything, and he adapted. But he only did it once. He wasn't adapting again. And so I just find it very interesting that Dabo apparently isn't interested in, you know, adapting this one time at least. I mean, and granted, hey, he's earned the right to run his program however he sees fit. And I think he's willing to say, listen, I'm going to win this way or not. And I have a little cousin on the team. He was a walk-on, preferred walk-on. Shout out to Peyton Pitts, my Aunt Wanda, Sportz Nutz everywhere, Mixed Nuts. Don't forget to like us, follow us, you know, subscribe to us. We've got the man, Jeff Reinbold. Dude, this is the most fun I've ever had in my life. I'm telling you, I love it. But yeah, I mean, Nick Saban even adapted once, but he said, I'm not doing it again. Well, twice, really, when he came back from the NFL, or three times if you count the NFL.
I'm going to tell you, JD, I think you sell Coach Saban short a little bit, because if you know his history and you know if you follow his football, he has been always a guy that is interested on what the latest trends are. And I'm talking about strategic trends, you know, training trends, you know,
which is what you got to do to be successful, right?
Right.
And Dabo's not willing to do that.
Well, I think what happened with Coach Saban, and I can't speak for him, but I certainly think that what happened to Nick is that and it will all reach a point of saturation where he felt like, hey, we just lost, and I heard him talk about this. We just lost to Michigan, a chance to go to the national championship, right? And he's doing exit interviews at the end of the semester, after the game, and the kids had 2 questions. Can you guarantee me playing time, and how much money am I going to make next year? As opposed to expressing their disappointment over having lost an opportunity to go win another national championship at Alabama. And I think when it got to that point, I think he recognized that, the temperature in the room was not something that he was comfortable with, and he chose to walk away. Now, he's in his 70s, and he's done more than anybody else has ever done in this game, and he deserves the opportunity to do that on his own terms. I think that it is a brave new world. I'm out recruiting right now in Houston, and I'm telling you, it is a completely different landscape than it was 11 years ago, the last time I recruited as a college football coach. Completely different. And so you have to, you don't need to compromise your principles, but I think you do need to adjust and adapt because the game has changed and the rules around the game. The recruiting has its own, it's a mating dance and it has its own rules. And so those rules have changed now in the last few years, and they're going to continue to change and evolve as we try and get a handle on, this whole NIL situation and the transfer portal and all the things that have come to be.
Yeah. Now, Jeff,
question.
one thing that I wanted to get with you, I hate that we lost you because I was wholeheartedly ready to get to you on this one, but like, well, what are your thoughts on maybe like a third party coming in to be a mediator in between the players and the NCAA, almost like a college football committee? I know Nick Saban's already gone out to the Congress and spoken before the committee and stuff with the NIL and stuff that's going on. Why would that not be sufficeable enough to be, get a couple of current athletic directors or presidents of these universities and in certain, groups and stuff like that to get together to kind of sort out the NIL and make it more suitable for the student athlete, not just the major athletes?
Well, I think that's a really good suggestion. And I think you're going to need somebody in that position that is very strong and is very well respected by everybody that he deals with. It's a really difficult. You've got 100 and I think it's 130 now, or very close to 130 Division I football teams in the country, and the needs, the wants, the aspirations, the conditions that they work in, the sphere of their influence, their ability to raise funds, all of those things are different at all 130 of those schools. And so it's a really interesting dynamic that you have to work with. I mean, you've got places like Army, Navy, and Air Force that, play Division I football, but don't give athletic scholarships. Those kids go there because they want to serve their country. And, they have a different set of rules that they have to abide by. And
I had a cousin went to the Naval Academy. I know. My was actually, he just showed up there for a second. That's why I had to take a break. But he's graduated Citadel.
Yeah. So those guys have a whole different reality as Division I athletes than an athlete at Alabama or Notre Dame or wherever, right? So you're trying to placate, if you will, that's a lot of different constituencies inside of college football. And then on top of it, you've got boosters who want to win and coaches who want to win and, presidents who want to win. And, I mean, there's a lot of egos involved and a lot of money involved. And those two things are kind of dangerous. Egos and money.
Transferred to basketball.
Pardon me?
It's transferred to basketball with Coach Cal going to Arkansas.
Yeah. Well,
it's transferred across the sports world. I mean, and I think we're going to see that from here on out.
Well, I think one of the things, like, if you ask me, one of the things that's different now in college football recruiting that was 11 years ago when I did it previously, now you're starting to see the same phenomenon that was in basketball 11 years ago, where kids are doing much more, playing much more outside of the building than inside of the building. It was AAU teams in basketball. Now it's, 7-on-7 teams in football. And so they're competing outside of the school. And I'm not sure that's good, right? And then because of that opens those guys up to, quote, the agent, the street agent, the handlers, all that, out there hustling, trying to make money for themselves, but also for their clients.
The underhand man.
Well, yeah, it's all out there now. I mean, it was in years past, that was really basketball's gig, right? But you didn't see it in football. Now you're starting to see it a lot in football, where kids won't go. I was talking to a high school coach this week, and he's got a couple really good players that won't work out with their team in the summer because they're going to play on a traveling 7-on-7 elite team, right? Because they've been told that that's going to get them more exposure, and what are they really looking for is they're looking for money, and NIL money, right? So it's different than it's ever been.
Yeah.
Now,
Hey,
Jeff,
well, Jeff.
we talk about like with NIL and everything. What does UH have an NIL collective? Because South Carolina, Clemson, Furman even has an NIL collective. Does UH have an NIL collective right now?
Yes, we do. And I mean, that's again a situation where we feel like we have to compete. We have to get in the game. If you're not going to get in the game, then you better be ready to get left behind. And and again, I think this is important. I think if you talk to the most college football coaches, they would say yes, the players should share in the revenue that's generated, right? Because they're what the fans come to see. The fans don't come to see me; they come to see the players, and
Right.
so I think that that's something that is good. Now, how you manage it and how you make it equitable at all levels, that's the tough part, and that's the part everybody's struggling with today.
Got to share the love.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you see schools that some of them they bank on one or two players making their whole revenue. I mean, there is you know who Furman University is. Everybody knows because of the whole how they beat Virginia in the basketball. J.P. Pegues is he's an up and coming star for the basketball program. But you had Jalen Slauson a couple years ago, who was in theory the face of Furman basketball. And you do have. I mean, look at Hawaii. I don't know if Braden and Shea are still there, but he's kind of was the face of UH football. And then you had Chevin Cordero, who was before them. And so you have to have that. Obviously, you want to have that one player who's going to bring all the revenue in, who's going to bring the butts into the seats, who's going to help sell the team as to why they are that team. But I work at a radio station here in Greenville, and we actually had this debate a while back about it with regards to you don't have commitment. That word commitment is not really in players' vocabulary skills anymore because anybody can be bought nowadays. Yes, you have diehards who are going to be at certain schools, but then you have other schools who are going to, hey, I'll give you extra money if you come here. I mean, look at the player who was at Iowa. He signed an NIL deal at Iowa, goes to Alabama, signs an NIL deal at Alabama, and then immediately goes right back to Iowa. He got paid basically 3 NIL deals because of that, and that brings back to the whole thing of, is that really right? What do we need to do to fix that? And you did say it's opened up a can of worms as to how we are ever really going to truly fix NIL deal, and it really is sad to see that you have schools like Dartmouth who are unionizing. I mean, do you think UH could ever unionize?
I think college athletes, it's again, if you know the history of college sport, that has been a topic that has been out in the public. When I say in the public, amongst the athletes for years. Northwestern had tried to unionize their athletes. They tried to unionize. I think that's a reality that is very, very close to becoming true. And the players, when will the players have their own college football players association, right?
That's a
Because
very good
I
point.
think that's something that
part of saving.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things here that we could chew on this one, all day long. And
More than a well done piece of beef jerky, huh?
So let's switch it up a little bit on here, okay? Obviously, our man of the hour is our guest, Jeff Breinball, University of Hawaii defensive lines coach. Jeff, I want you to kind of get. So I know about Hawaii. I'm religious about Hawaii. You have one of the greatest coaches, who is the greatest quarterback of Hawaii right now, Timmy Chang.
Mhm.
Obviously, you got to coach with the great late Colt Brennan, which we do miss still to this day.
Yeah.
And you got
We
to
used to
see
always play
Bryant
with my
Loney.
man back in NCAA football.
You got to see Bryant
Always.
Loney, who I talked to him all the time. Actually, when he played for the Georgia Force in the arena football, he stayed at my house, and him and I became real good friends on that one. Can you kind of give an idea of what we are going to expect seeing with the University of Hawaii football and this year and then years to come?
Well, I think to appreciate UH football, to appreciate Hawaii football, you have to kind of know the history of it, right? And obviously, Hawaii has a very interesting and intriguing and romantic history as a state. We're the only state in the Union that was once its own monarchy. We had a king and a queen, and the United States annexed Hawaii and took it over and disposed of the queen, and that's a big part of Hawaiian history. But football came to the islands very, very early, and one of the coolest things, Brandon, that I ever have been a part of, right, in football was, December 7th, 1941, the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, and, everybody knows that story. What people don't know about that story is that the University of Hawaii had played a game at home on Saturday, December 6th. And the opposing team had not left yet when Pearl Harbor happened. And as soon as the bombs dropped and everything, the world changed, numbers of players, Hawaii players, went downtown in Honolulu and enlisted and were gone for the war, right? And those athletes never received their H, never got their varsity H. And one of the coolest things I was ever a part of was June in 2007 brought the remaining guys around, the ones that were still alive. He brought them back and awarded them their Hawaii H. And to see those old men,
that's amazing,
who had never gotten that H, was phenomenal. And then the post-war years, the 50s and the 60s, Hawaii was a weird kind of, they played a crazy schedule. They would play one week, Willamette University, which is a Division III school in Oregon, and the next week they'd play somebody from the Big Ten. I mean, they went out to Nebraska once with, I think it was like 42 players because the travel was so expensive, and beat a nationally ranked Nebraska team. Okay.
Yeah.
We have some incredible
in the mid-90s, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we have some incredible history and some incredible wins, and but I think what makes us so unique, and I can't think of another state, maybe Vermont, I guess, I don't know, but we are the only university in the state. There are some smaller colleges. Nobody else plays football. We're in a football mad state. Now, I have worked and lived in California, Texas, Florida. I've seen all the Louisiana, Mississippi, places where football is king. It's no more or no less important in the state of Hawaii. Friday nights in Hawaii are about high school football. And so
I want to chime on that too in just a second.
The state loves football. And so when you know, you're under a microscope because there is no pro sport. There is not another team. There's no split loyalties. It's all us. Now,
Mm-hmm.
that's great when you're winning. It can be tough sometimes when you're losing. And
Yep.
there was a guy by the name of Dick Tomey, and Dick
Oh, I remember.
was,
Yep.
yeah, Coach Tomey was a
He's loved.
UCLA assistant for Dick Vermeil. Came over in the
Oh
70s
yeah, Dick Vermeil drop.
and brought Hawaii into the 20th century as a football program, right? We used to play in an old wooden stadium. They called it the Termite Palace downtown that sat about 10,000 people. And then they built Aloha Stadium, a 60,000 seat, beautiful stadium. That propelled us into the next stage. And if you go back and you look at, we've had over 70 some 80, almost 80 players drafted in the National Football League. We've got Super Bowl winners galore, and all kinds of guys that have gone out and done great things, All-Americans, Heisman finalists, all of it. But there's a certain mystique to Saturday night on the islands. And
amen to that. Amen to that. I had the privilege of living in Hawaii for 3 years.
I didn't know that.
Yes. My ex-wife works for Ceridian. They're one of the largest payroll companies in the world. So they have a hub in Honolulu. So we would go every Friday night during the fall year and see Kahuku. The Red Raiders, as the world is that area, and nobody can disagree with you on that one. That is the team that everybody likes to go watch is Kahuku. And so I'm friends with Billy Kahoka, Billy the Warrior, and his son Braden, who plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who actually was part of the drumming crew for you guys during June's incredible run at UH. And I have to say, it's actually Thursday nights is when we started going for the tailgating. We'd be there from Thursday night all the way to Sunday morning. I had so much fun, and going to the swap meet at Aloha Stadium, that was always the best thing in the world too. Yep. I mean, there's some people who talk about it to this day that it was the greatest thing that they've ever gotten to experience. I was at my two favorite games that you guys had at Aloha Stadium, and Aloha Stadium used to, when it rocked, it shook. The place physically actually shook. It was so electric. Was my first one that I absolutely loved. I mean, I got to see you guys play Utah State and beat them the year they were terrible. But was when you guys played Boise to win the WAC. That was the absolute most electrifying environment at the time that I had been there. I remember just the level of excitement had started Wednesday, and people were there. They were parked alongside the roads. You couldn't get anywhere towards the Halava area. I mean, you really couldn't get anywhere. It was packed. It was UH gear in every single store imaginable. I had so much fun going to it. And then you guys had to go and play Washington, and you had to come back from a 28-point deficit. That was, I think I'm still hoarse from that game. It was so much fun. And, when you say it really is unlike any other experience, yes, we have the LSUs, we have the South Carolinas, we have the Clemsons, we have Georgia, we have that, but there is nothing better than you're being in paradise and you're going to see one of the most electrifying teams in University of Hawaii football. It was so much fun that year. And, I talked to a lot of people and they believe you guys are going to get there again. I feel you guys are going to get there again. I think Timmy is on the right path.
Yeah,
I feel it. I feel he's on the right path. He's finally got the full pieces he needs for the run and shoot, and June obviously brought that into the state, and that is all what everybody's loved. One good thing that June also that you tapped on there too is he cared about the people of Hawaii. He still does. He loves the state, and that is something that you can't find a lot of people who understand that Hawaii was at one time a monarchy, and they did get annexed by the U.S. They have a lot of people who resent the United States. They say Hawaii is not truly a state of the union. It's the state of Hawaii. It's the country of Hawaii.
Yeah.
So you have those people there. And if you embrace their culture, you embrace their lifestyle, you love and respect everybody, you are a part of their lifestyle forever. And I got to say that I'm humbled, and I'm gonna let you know, Jeff. We have about 97 people who are watching this stream right now. That's thanks to you. But we the state of Hawaii is a place unlike any other. I have
Yep.
3 girls right now. We actually have our 4th daughter who will be due here at the end of July. My goal, stop, my dog is bothering me, sorry. My goal at the end of next year, if not next year, the year after, will be to have all 4 of my girls and also my wife go out to Hawaii so they can see what it's like to experience the love and the culture and the bonds you develop for lifetimes in Hawaii. And that's why when I said the way I said about you, Jeff, that you're the most inspirational, caring, respected individual that I've ever learned about. You really are. I mean, Jeff, you are an internet sensation with your story with Brian, and that's actually how I learned about Brian. I got to meet him, through conversations, and him and I talked all the time. I still have a picture of him and Zeus. Obviously Zeus is not here anymore. He was a great dog for Brian, and Brian said he doesn't know if he's ever going to get another dog. Hopefully he does. But Jeff, when I say this has been the absolute best experience of all of us combined, having you here, we truly mean it, man. You know what we say with people in Hawaii. You are Ohana. You are our family, man. You are forever going to be part of the Sportz Nutz, man.
Oh yeah,
really-
mahalo and Ohana. Listen, hey, as a matter of fact, I was just watching Hawaii 5-0 today, and I was just thinking about some of the stories and stuff that they come up with to keep their audience interested. And I'm like, man, if I could ever figure out a way to keep the audience just going up and down like a roller coaster, like the TV shows do, man, we're gonna be in good shape. But listen, Jeff Reinbold, my man,
sir.
hey, listen, it has been a tremendous pleasure to talk with you. Can you make me one promise?
All
Can
right.
we please do this again? Please.
Yes.
Listen, I apologize. And again, I
No,
feel like
no, don't apologize. No, we apologize for being crappy, journalists. Hey, don't apologize to us. You're the professional, bro. You were doing us a favor. We were so happy to have you on. I love this conversation, and that's why I hope that and pray that we can have this again. I've got to go do my real life responsibilities as they're screaming outside the door right here.
take care of your business.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to you, Jeff. Man, it was tremendous.
Guys,
listen,
all you got to do is that.
hey, your first picture, man, it gave me a little Ric Flair vibe, man. I'll be honest with you, man. You got a little Ric Flair thing going on. You're the pretty boy. Woo! Yeah,
right,
Rambo.
so this
But
guy,
hey, we appreciate having you on, man. Hey, let me get out of here.
Woo!
We love you. Hey, Sportz Nutz, for Shane, for Brandon, for Greg, for everybody. Hey, listen, JD's going to get off. Peace, love, and bacon grease, baby. Y'all have a go.
Take
all
care.
right,
Jane, take
Jeff,
care. Brandon, thank you
this has
so
been
much.
phenomenal,
Love
man.
to do it again.
Yes, I've
Hang
had a
on
blast.
for me 1 second, Jeff.
Best team right here is UH. Best coach is right there. Jeff Reinbold. Guys, it has been a pleasure. Please check Jeff Reinbold out on Twitter. Follow his podcast at the Jeff Reinbold Show, at Jeff Reinbold on Twitter. For our man Greg, who was not here tonight, unfortunately, he's at Atlanta Braves game. Guys, this is awesome. Jeff, I'm gonna keep talking with you, buddy. I've loved every minute of it, man.
All right,
And
brothers.
tell Coach Chang, let's get it. Let's bring home that Mountain West championship. I'm ready.
I'm ready too, buddy. I'm ready too.
Let's get it. All right, guys. For
Take
my
care,
man
man.
Shane, for our man Jeff, for our man Greg, and our man JD, I'm Brandon. I want to wish you guys one love. And Shane, what do you say?
Hey, peace, love, and bacon grease.
There you go, baby.
Hey, Jeff, stay on. I got a surprise for you.
All right,
There
man.
you go. All right. I'm in the stream.